Alright, my first video of 2021, and I'm looking at the official statistics on COVID-19. That's the URL for the site. And I thought I would share how the United States, where I live, compares to other countries of the first world, and then compare it to the second and the third world just for fun, just to see where we belong. So right now, worldwide, we've had 84 million cases of COVID-19, 22,000 new cases today alone. We had 1.8 million deaths from COVID-19 this year, 1,000 or so deaths today alone. But the good news is that most people recover, right? 59 million something have recovered, 1.8 million have died, and if we break it down by other demographics, it's probably not nearly that scary. The active cases, right, it's the people who are sick today of COVID-19, 22 million something. So think about that, 7 billion people, right? How many is that? One out of every 300 people today. So you probably have more than 300 people in your social circle, right? Think about that. At least one person that you know today is struggling with COVID-19, right? People tend to be very private about that, right? So you might not know who. Well, just give that some thought, right? But of those 23 million, only 100,000 or so are serious or critical, right? And most of them are probably going to make a recovery, right? Total cases per 1 million population, 10,000. Oh, that's including those that have already recovered, right? So 1 out of every 100 people has had or is going through COVID-19 at the moment, right? Think about your circle of friends again and pretend that 1 out of every 100 of them has had COVID-19. Again, people tend to be very private about that, right? So you might not know who. Out of every 100 million people, or out of every 1 million people, 234 have passed away. So roughly 1 out of every 4,000 or so people, right? You might not have 4,000 people in your social circle. I know 2 people personally who have passed away. I talked about this in another video. And when I think about the last time I interacted with the 2 people who I knew who died of COVID-19, it saddens me that when we were interacting in the way that we did, I never realized they would be gone in a historical event, right? It makes me really appreciate how I interact with people today because I don't know how they're going to leave, right? It really makes me think about that now. Okay, on to the statistics. We have the most number of cases, and I think the most number of recoveries, but that's because we're a relatively big country, right, in terms of population. I think number 4, number 5 in terms of, well, actually we can sort it by population over here just to see how we rank in terms of population. China, India, oh, number 3, really, USA, Indonesia, Pakistan. Okay, now let's look at the per capita data, because that will tell us how we're actually doing, right? Total cases per 1 million population. Let's sort it by from high to low. United States, number 6. And look at the countries that are ahead of us. None of them strike me as very well developed, right? You might have a few rich countries because of oil, but none of them strike me as very well developed. Look at the other first world countries down here. Switzerland, how many cases per 1 million? 52,000. How many did we have? 61. Okay, so just a little bit fewer, but go down a little bit and look at some other not so well developed countries who have fewer, right? Peru, Bulgaria, and not only are they less developed, but they're much more crowded, right? Good luck trying to social distance in some of these less developed countries, right? The UAE, right? Good luck trying to social distance there, right? Even Iran is down here. They had a big outbreak at the beginning, and they have 10,000 or so cases per 1 million. Mexico, right? I've traveled there a few times. Good luck with social distancing. Very questionable food there too, right? I don't think I saw bat soup there, but I saw a lot of other questionable things being eaten on the street markets. I think there were rats and all sorts of other questionable foods, right? Okay, so that was total cases. I'll talk about my opinion on why we did so poorly there at the end of this video. Let's look at deaths per 1 million population. Okay, we didn't do so badly in terms of dying. We're number 14 there. 1,000 people out of every million, right? 1 out of every 1,000 people in the United States has died of COVID-19, right? So think about how many people you know, right? And divide that by 1,000. But let's look at some of the countries who had more deaths than we did. Okay, we didn't do so badly, right? There are a few other the UK. I wouldn't say they are so wealthy though, because the cost of living in the UK is a whole lot higher, right? So on a per person what is that called? Purchasing power parity for the per capita GDP. I wouldn't say they were very wealthy, right? I get very nervous when I see conferences being held there, right? Your money just doesn't go nearly as far, right? I'd rather have the conferences in Taiwan or even Japan, where I could kind of stay somewhere comfortable, right? Okay, so they had slightly more deaths than we did. They had 1080. Even then, even the number one country didn't have double as many deaths as we did. Again, I wouldn't say any of these countries are well off. You have a few oil giants in there. But in terms of actual social development, I wouldn't say any of those are really high. So okay, we have 1,000 per million. Let's see some of the other countries down here that had fewer. Again, some of these countries, right? Good luck with social distancing in any of those countries. And not very well off either, right? Look at that, India. Good luck with social distancing. I mean, not that that's a bad thing, right? In a non-pandemic year, it's nice to mingle with a lot of people, right? You're not gonna be lonely anytime soon in India, right? That's good for a number of other health metrics, right? I think their life expectancy is not bad, right? Certainly, any country has issues to work on, but I wouldn't say crowding is necessarily a bad thing. Okay, that's deaths per million. Total cases per... How about testing? How well have we tested? Where's the United States? Number 20. And we lag behind... Look at some of these countries up here. Malta. Not an especially well-developed area, I would say. Bermuda. I mean, you got a few oil giants in here. Actually, I heard part of the reason we still lag behind in testing, this is anecdotal, but a lot of my peers are worried that if they don't want to get tested because, first of all, they don't feel sick. And second, if they test positive, even if they don't have symptoms, it causes a huge headache, right? They have to quarantine. I think in some states there are penalties if you know you have COVID-19 and you don't quarantine. And but if you don't know if you have COVID-19, there's no penalties there, right? So a lot of people don't want to get tested because another problem is that a lot of people literally cannot afford to lose a paycheck, right? If they test positive and they have to quarantine, or if they're people that around them have to quarantine, not only do they lose a paycheck, but their spouse or maybe their extended family members who they've recently seen. A lot of people cannot afford that. That's a big problem. And so they don't want to get tested. It kind of reminds me of HIV testing, right? If you test positive and you're aware that you're positive, you're responsible for keeping your partners safe, right? So a lot of people don't want to know. I think there has to be a penalty for not, if you had any inkling that you could have been positive and not going out to get tested, right? There got to be a higher penalty for that, right? The other problem is that I know this firsthand because even before COVID-19, I had to social distance because I have food allergies. I have eczema. And when people eat milk products, especially finger foods, I have to social distance from them. And people get very defensive. They sit down with their food and I social distance from them. People get very defensive. They think that maybe they smell bad. Did I not like their style of clothing? And then I explain to them about their food. And I got to be careful when I explain to people about their food. Sometimes people get so defensive that they literally shove their food into my mouth. I'm not kidding. And it just, when I first heard back in March that we have to social distance, I was thinking, good luck with that. It's hard enough to get people to social distance from just me, let alone the rest of the population. When I travel to other countries and I have to explain to other people that I have to, well, I guess I didn't call it social distancing back then. People were very accepting. Sometimes people even want to know, they have, their kids have eczema as well, maybe a significant other. I was on a plane in Germany one time. I was flying from Frankfurt to Warsaw, and I had printed out some information in German and Polish because I figured not everybody on the plane would speak English, to please be careful with their food. I have eczema. And the guy was sitting next to, I think he was German. He got very excited because his son has eczema, and he was speaking into his phone to translate and asking me how I was doing and what kind of foods or supplements. See, you would never see that in the United States. In the U.S., it's fuck you, it's your problem, right? Why should I have to change my eating habits because of you, right? It's my right to eat whatever I want on the airplane. It's my right to not wear a mask on the airplane, right? That's the kind of attitude we have in the United States. Anyway, that's just my opinion. Might not be the only contributor, but I think it's a significant contributor. And I hope the events of last year have woken us up that we have to share the planet with everybody else, right? Thanks for watching.